Hi everyone. Today we are doing lesson 3.2 and that is on word phrases and algebraic expressions. So first we are going to talk about what it says up here, some word problems. So the words you're going to see instead of just numbers today, which you usually see in math. So make sure that you have this title written down, and some of the examples today I have already written down. So when I get to those, you can hit pause so that you can write down the problems. Do not just leave it blank in your notes. I don't just want answers in your notes. I want to see the words because those are important today. Okay, so let's start with some actual words that you need to know what they mean in algebra or just math in general. So there are four very important words that are used a lot. That is sum, difference, product, and quotient. So let's start with sum and just write the definition. A sum is the answer to an addition problem. So the answer to an addition problem is called a sum. So if I had the problem like 5 plus 1 equals 6, if I asked you what is the sum is the 6, okay, because it is the answer to an addition problem. If I gave you two numbers and said, what is the sum of 2 and 3, then your answer would be 5, because it is the answer, sum is the answer to an addition problem. So I'm going to make this an addition problem to get the answer of 5. Okay, so let's go through the other three words that are like that. Difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. Okay, the next one is product. And product is the answer to a multiplication problem. And the last one is a quotient. And quotient is the answer to a, can you guess which one it is? A division problem. Okay, so these are the four words that are important. Pretty much the rest of your math career is you need to remember what sum, difference, product, and quotient mean. Okay, let me see if I have enough room down here. Yeah, I do. Okay, so now that you've had those all written down, we're going to make a list of different words we use for the different signs. So we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So we're just going to make a little table here that has different words for each one. So if I said the word times, where would we put that? You would say it's right here with multiplication, right? Okay, what if I said the word less? Like I need 5 less than what I have. What are you going to do? Are you going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? That one would be subtraction, right? Okay, my next one is quotient. Well, you can still see it because I didn't move up my screen enough. It's right here. Quotient is the answer to a division problem. So the word quotient would go under division. Okay, Okay, I'm going to go a little bit faster now. Remember, if I'm going too fast, just pause the video. Okay, the next one is sum. Sum would mean plus. Then we have the word twice. Well, twice means times 2, right? So I'm going to put twice here, and then in parentheses, I'm going to put times 2. Okay, the next one is divided by. Well, that one's easy. It's underneath the division sign, divided by. More, if I say I need 5 more, then I would be adding. Then we have diminished. That would be underneath subtraction. If something was diminished by a certain amount, you're going to subtract. Half of something is divided by. So half would mean I'm going to divide by 2, right? Difference, that was up in our 4 words that were important, and that is a subtraction. Add, obviously, is the plus. Subtract is obviously the subtraction sign. Decreased would be over here in subtract. If I decrease something. Increased would be over here. And then we have product, which goes right here. Okay, those are some of the words that your book has written down. We may have a few more, and I may even come back to this and add a few more. So keep that handy. I even made it a little bit longer in case we added some more words to it. Okay, so let's go on with what we're going to do today. Our first example is I want to write the sum of n and 4. So when you have the word sum, we already talked about that. That means plus, right? Okay, so when I do these word expressions, I usually go through the words and actually write them on here, and then I'll write the actual thing down later. So when you have the word sum, difference, product, or quotient, you're always looking for another word, and that's the word and. So when you see the word and, that's where you're going to put your sign. So for sum, it's plus. So I'm going to put my plus sign there where it says and. And now I have my actual problem is n plus 4. So I'm going to write that down here, n plus 4. And that is my answer to my problem, okay, is n plus 4. So the sum of n and 4 is n plus 4. Pretty easy, right? Okay, the next one is the difference between a number and 5. Okay, so same thing. We have the word difference. And so I'm going to look for the word and. And wherever that and is, that's where I'm going to put my minus sign. So now I have a number minus 5. But we can't just write out a number. So a number means I'm going to put a variable there. And usually when it says number, I just use n because it matches the word number. You could put an X or a Y or something else. So this one would be n minus 5. Okay, because I have the number, which is n. The minus is going to be the and the 5 is right here. So there's my answer for the difference between a number and 5. Okay, next one is 1/3 of a number. Oh, here's a word we didn't put up in our chart, so now we can go back. The word of, let's go back to our chart, is in times. Almost all the time. Sometimes it's not, but almost 90% of the time it is a time sign. Okay, if I ever find one that's not, I'll be sure to show you. Like right here, the sum of n and 4, that one would not be a time sign, okay, because I have the word sum right here. So we know that sum is plus. But most of the time, if it's just by itself, we're going to have it as times. Okay, so 1/3 of a number means I'm going to multiply 1/3 times n, right? Number is n, and 1/3 is 1/3. So there's how I'm going to write this, 1/3 times n. But remember, we don't use the time sign. We just put the 1/3 and then the n next to it. And there's my answer. Okay, I want you to try example 4 and 5 on your own. 5's a little bit different, but I want you to do it on your own anyway, and then you can, when I go over it, you can see what you did wrong. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video now and do those two examples. Okay, now that you're back, let's look at example 4. So, pretty easy, a number, divide it by 6. But what I want you to look at is this. In algebra, we don't usually write division like that, and you're not really going to ever see it like that. So I want you to remember how we write division. Kind of like time sign, we put a dot or we just put it next to each other. On dividing, remember we're going to do it like it's a fraction. So we're going to do n divided by 6. And that's your answer. So I will not count it wrong if you did it with this sign. But I might remind you, like if you did it on a practice paper or an assignment and you go like this, I might just put out beside of it in red, I might put like this. But I'm not going to count it wrong. Just make sure that you have it trying to put it in this way. Okay, so example 5. This one was the one I said was a little bit tricky. So let's go through what it is. Okay, so sum, remember, of does not mean times. We're just going to mark that out. Sum means plus, and we're going to put that plus where the word and is. So here's the word and. I'm going to put plus there. Okay, now I want to do the next part, 8 times a number. So here's our problem in green. 3 plus 8 times a number. Let me take out that x. That looks funny to me. I want to just put a time sign. Okay. So when I write that down here, I'm going to put 3 plus 8 times n. Okay. Now, normally, if this was saying something like 8 minus a number, I would want to put this in parentheses. Okay. I don't need to do that here because I'm going to do the times first anyway because of order of operations. So there's my answer. Hopefully you got that one right. Okay, here's one. We have 8 more than 3 times a number. And this problem is special because of this word right here, than. We're going to talk about that. And it's important in more than just the more than. You can also use this when it says less than. So when you have that word than, it means you're going to flip which side these things are on. So 8 more than 3 times a number means that the 3 times a number is going to actually come first. So I'm going to do 3 times a number, and then I'm going to do 8 more than after that. So more meant plus. Oops, that's not supposed to be a 3. So that's 8. So we have 8 more than means it's going to come at the end. If you have 8 less than, you would do, if I had 8 less than, I would have done 3n minus 8. Now see how it's important here. If I did 8 minus 3n, that's not going to equal the same thing as 3n minus 8. On plus sign, it doesn't matter the order. So usually if you get this wrong on plus sign, I might just take off a few points because it doesn't really matter. The answer is going to be the same. But over here, it's not going to be the same. The answer is going to be different. Okay? Okay, and so that one gets a little bit confusing that you have to switch over. Just remember that the than means you have to change the order. Okay, now we're getting over to a little bit harder ones. We actually only have 2 left. So the quotient of a number and 8 and twice the number, let n represent the number. You can try to do this one on your own if you want. It's a little bit harder, so I'm going to go through it with y'all and not actually have you do it on your own. But if you think you know how to do it, then you can hit pause and try it on your own. Okay, so this says the quotient of a number and 8. When we have words like this, we're looking for that word and. Well, look, I have an and here and an and here. So this is a little bit confusing. But this is where some parentheses kind of come in handy. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to put a parentheses here because it says the quotient of a number and 8. And so this is where I'm going to put my division sign. Twice the number. So can you kind of see it now with those parentheses? I have a number and 8. Divide it by twice the number. Okay, so when I write that, because quotient is division, we're going to put the division like this, is a bar. and I'm going to put the number and 8 on, nope, I'm sorry, nope, I'm on the wrong problem. Hold on just a minute. Oh, I see what I did wrong. I'm sorry, we need to start this one over. That was probably confusing to y'all, right? I left out a word here. So is the quotient of the difference, I kept thinking that looked a little bit weird. Quotient of sorry, my pencil's not working. The difference of a number and 8. Okay, now that's better there. Okay, so now I have two words that are like the sum, difference, quotient, and product. I have two of those words. I have the quotient and I have the difference. So you want to put the one that's closest to it. So the difference of a number and 8 is separate from quotient. Okay, so now I'm going to go down and do my little line, and I'm going to put the difference of a number and 8 on top, and then the and, this and, is the bottom part, or the division, and then we have twice the number, so that's going to be 2n. So there's my answer for that problem. Okay. Okay, again, a little bit different, right? Okay, or difficult. Okay, example 8 is also a little bit different because we use some words that were not in our chart, like opposite and reciprocal. Okay, but those are words that we've already used in the past in chapter 1, so we need to know what those mean. Opposite means, remember, we're going to have, if it's a positive, then the opposite would be a negative. If it's a negative, the opposite would be a positive. But when it just says the opposite of, that means I'm going to do a negative number. Okay, so I'm going to put a negative out in front, and then I'm going to do the reciprocal of the square of a number. So the square of a number would be n squared. So what's the reciprocal going to be? Well, remember, reciprocal just means I'm going to flip it. So if I have n squared, the reciprocal would be 1 over n squared. And the negative is out front. I kind of made that a really big negative. Just a little smaller one. And there's my answer. Okay, that's it for today. Hopefully the problems you have for examples for your homework tonight won't be too hard. And if they are, just work through it, try your best, and then you can ask me questions if you really can't get one. Okay? And I will see you tomorrow.